Today, we'll be looking at election. Election is simply defined as the act of electing people into different offices in government. Election is simply the act of electing people into different offices in government. So election can simply be defined as the act of an electorate electing their various candidates, their various desired candidates into different offices in government. Electorates, as I said in the last class, are the people voting, while candidates are the people that want to be voted, that are going to be voted for. Now, why must we conduct elections? What are the reasons for conducting elections? What are the functions of elections in a country? The first thing election does is that it helps us to hold the government accountable. When people's aspirations and wishes are not reflected in government policies and programs, the electorate can affect a change of leadership during elections. So, for example, when a president of a country, when we voted for the president told us that if you give us 24 hours light, it will give us water supply in every home, there will be good road, there will be good health systems for everybody and health insurance. And then during the course of their term, they have not done any of these things. That is why we have election. So during the next election, we can vote these people out and bring a new leader in government. So election helps us to hold our government accountable. The second function of election is that it helps us to give legitimate power to the government, legitimacy of government. Now, legitimacy of government affords representatives the opportunity of exercising government power on behalf of the citizen. Now, when we conduct election, we are simply giving our candidates the legitimate right to exercise government power on behalf of the citizens, on behalf of we that we voted for them. So, another function of election is that it gives government the legitimate right to exercise their power on behalf of the citizen. Another reason why we conduct election is for smooth leadership succession. Now, imagine that we don't have election. Somebody can turn themselves to the King of Kings and Lord of Lords, that they will not leave the seat of power again. That is one of the reasons why we have election. Another thing election does is that it encourages a sense of identification and nationhood when it is free and fair. It encourages patriotism. Election encourages patriotism. Everybody that wants the betterhood of Nigeria, everyone that wants Nigeria to move forward will go and vote. And that is patriotism. So election encourages patriotism. It encourages a sense of identification and nationhood when it is free and fair. Similarly, we have types of election. There are different types of elections. The first type of election we'll be looking at is direct election. Direct election is simply the process of voting our leaders directly in office. An example of direct election is the type of election we do in Nigeria to vote in our president. That is a direct election. Simply the people voting in the candidates of their choice into office by themselves. Indirect election, on the other hand, is when the citizens, they vote in some people that will vote for the president on their behalf. These people that are voted for are called the parliament. So, in indirect election, the people vote in the parliament, and then the parliament, they see this parliament as people that can take informed decisions, as people that are sensible in terms of government, and they put the power in the hands of the parliament to vote in a president. This system of government is used in the United States of America, indirect election, in which an electoral college is the one that votes in the president. Indirect election is simply when an electoral college that has been voted in by the citizen votes on behalf of the citizen, votes in a president on behalf of the citizen. Now we have by-election. By-election is an election that is done when the person in office, the person that is running in office, is disqualified, resigns, or dies while during his office tenure. So by-election is an election that is simply done to replace a candidate, probably due to the fact that the candidate has been disqualified, the candidate resigned, or the candidate died. And there might be many more, and there are many more reasons why we would conduct by-election. So by-election is simply an election that is done to replace a person who did not finish their tenure in office. We also have runoff election. Runoff election is done when we vote and we fail to get and when none of the candidates wins an absolute majority of the votes. By absolute majority of the votes, we mean half of the votes plus one. So when no candidate is able to win half of the total votes plus one, we conduct what we call a runoff election. A runoff election. So runoff election, when conducting a runoff election, what they do is after voting, let me give a scenario. So for example, in Nigeria, if we are conducting a runoff election in Nigeria, it means that the type of election we are doing is one that in which we only pronounce someone the winner of an election when they win absolute majority of the votes. Now, if we are using that type of system in Nigeria, what would happen is if 3 people are voting and we have 100 voters, the person that will be declared the winner must have 50 votes, 51 votes, at least 51 votes to be declared the winner. When none of the 3 candidates are able to get 51 votes, then we conduct a runoff election. So back to the scenario I was using. So for example, we have 3 candidates running for the post of presidency in Nigeria, and we have 100 voters. The first voter gets 35 votes. The second voter gets 25 votes. That is 60 votes. And then the third voter gets 40 votes. None of these people have been able to get absolute majority of the votes, so we do what we call a runoff election. When conducting a runoff election, we eliminate the people with the lower votes. So the second candidate that has 25 votes will be eliminated, and then we vote again for the 2 candidates. And now whoever wins between the 2 candidates now is the winner. So runoff election is simply an election that is done when none of the candidates get an absolute majority of the votes. We have primary election. Primary election is done within political parties. It is an election that is done within a political party. So primary election is simply an election that is done within a political party. So within political parties, they vote for their candidates. So in a political party like PDP, for example, 3 people might show intention to run for the post of presidency. Now, only the political party can only support one candidate. So because of that, they run what we call a primary election within the political party. Now, only members of that political party vote in this election. Now, when they vote, the candidate with the highest number of votes comes out as the candidate that will run for that party for the post of the president. So that is what we call primary election. Primary election is simply an election that is done within a political party to pick a candidate that will run on behalf of the political party. We also have referendum. Referendum is simply a yes or no vote, and it is usually done on issues of public opinion. So referendum is simply a yes or no vote that is done on issues of public opinion. So when we want to gather the opinion of people, who wants us to have lights from 3 to 4 o'clock today? Yes, no, that is referendum. It's simply a yes or no vote that is done on issues of public opinion. And with this, we've come to the end of the class. In the next class, we'll be looking at the process of conducting an election and the electoral system.